Dr. Ocean Sweet and his wife Gladys moved into this corner lot at the intersection of Garland and Charlevoix on the east side of Detroit on September 8th, 1925. And the rest is bitter-sweet history.
Do you think a Negro family moving here will affect the community as a whole?
Definitely.
In what way?
I think that, the property values will immediately go down if they are allowed to move in here in any number.
Dr. Sweet originally moved to Detroit shortly after earning his medical degree in 1921. He rented a house in the Black Bottom, a poor working-class area housing blacks and immigrants. Dr. Sweet could not find work due to his race, even working periodically in restaurants. He eventually rented space from a local pharmacy and opened his own office in Black Bottom. By June of 1924, his private practice had earned Dr. Sweet affiliation with Dunbar Hospital, Detroit's first black hospital. By the following year, Dr. and Mrs. Sweet had had a child and were ready to leave the confines of Black Bottom for a neighborhood more befitting their success. After much difficulty finding a realtor and finding a family willing to sell to them, and by paying $6,000 above fair market value, they were finally able to purchase a home. On June 7th, 1925, they acquired the 4-bedroom house at 2905 Garland for $18,500. That's about $260,000 in today's dollar. Well aware of the challenges he would face from homeowners in this all-white neighborhood, such as the Waterworks Park Improvement Association, who had successfully ejected other black families, Dr. Sweet moved in under the cover of night and recruited friends and family to help secure his home.
We're here on American Street, in front of which used to be the home of the prominent black businessman Valentin Bristol. He owned this home, and this once was a predominantly white neighborhood. He was sick and tired of his white tenants tearing up the home. So one thing that he did was, okay, let me find some black tenants that would be willing to move into the area. Okay. The black tenants were all forced out. They couldn't enjoy themselves here. So his wife and himself, they got fed up and they said, you know what? We're just gonna move into this neighborhood ourselves and we're gonna be okay. So they did something that was pretty brave, pretty special back then. It was pretty smart, forward thinking. They actually got the help of the police to kind of move them in. So they moved them in one day, and then the next day after the police had left.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Why would they need the police help in order to move in?
You think back in 1925, moving into a predominantly white area, being a black family, there would be some uprise. They didn't want us living in their neighborhood. Wow. Yeah, so it's pretty horrible. So the next day, they had a mob of people outside of their home looking to get them removed from the neighborhood.
Wow, so just an angry mob outside their home. What were they doing? Just yelling? I'm thinking yelling obscenities and different things like that, maybe throwing stuff?
Oh, all above.
Oh, okay.
All above.
Wow.
You know, for a while, it was like, it got to the point where it's like 200 police officers, and they held the men and women back from the neighborhood far enough to where I guess the Bristol family felt somewhat safe.
Okay.
It wasn't until a white woman had stated that you men need to do something before us women actually get these niggas out of this home.
Whoa.
So the one woman that said that statement is the one that started this uprise.
Wow.
So after that, the police really couldn't hold the big group of people here to eject these the Bristols from their home back any further. So the Bristols were from then forced out of their home. It was no longer safe for them to be here, and they ended up going back to Black Bottom.
Okay. Wow.
Moving day, September 8th. As his family is moving in, a crowd gathers outside the house. The crowd continues to grow, and by the following evening, over 300 white men, women, and children have amassed outside the house. Dr. Sweet, his 2 brothers, and 7 friends arm themselves and crouch in the attic. preparing for the worst. The crowd begins pelting the house with rocks. A rock shatters an upstairs window. Multiple shots ring out from the house. One man is shot in the leg, and one man lay dead. Detroit police, who were already on the scene to maintain peace, of course, immediately stormed the house, arrest all 11 occupants, and charge them with murder. The Detroit NAACP assisted the case by obtaining funds, an investigator, and most importantly, Clarence Darrow, one of the nation's most brilliant civil rights attorneys, to defend them. In his instruction to the jury, the judge presiding over the trial, Progressive Frank Murphy, notably said that a house is a man's castle, even if that man is black. After 46 hours of deliberation, the jury failed to come to a unanimous verdict, and Judge Murphy declared a mistrial. In a separate retrial in 1926, Ocean's brother Henry was acquitted by another all-white jury, which led to the release of all the remaining defendants.
So Alexander Turner's home was right over here. Alexander Turner wound up renting out his house to white people, and they kind of were unruly, so he rented it out to black people. But the home association in the neighborhood ran out the black people, basically threatened them. The black people feel for their life, and it was a headache. They didn't want to deal with those. They didn't want to have those type of problems. So what Turner did was like, I'm gonna move in here myself. I'm gonna move into the home, and that's what he did. He packed up, moved into his home, and not even 5 hours, he had a crowd outside his house. They ran up in his house.
So they came quick.
They came quick, man. They came no time. It was like they was waiting on him.
So hold on, 5 hours.
5 hours.
They didn't give him a whole day.
Neighborhood watch.
Neighborhood watch.
They was looking at him, waiting for him, and ran up in his crib and at gunpoint had him sign over his deed to his house. Sign the papers over at gunpoint.
That's so heartbreaking.
It's a messed up situation. I mean, if that's not forced out, I don't know what is, man.
Absolutely, man.
I mean, because like, what are you to do? You're moving into the home, and the police were there. The
police were okay with it.
Yeah.
They said, we don't want y'all here nowhere.
Yeah. So the police were out there keeping the peace, and in their peacekeeping, people ran up in the house and at gunpoint, just had him sign over his house. This messed up situation.
Well, I guess back then, keeping the black people out of a neighborhood like this, that was keeping peace.
Yeah. It was appeasing the masses, I suppose. Yeah, real rough time.
So what did he do?
After that, he was successful. He packed up his stuff. He moved out. Did a little bit of research. He got reimbursed on the money from the house, so it wasn't a total loss.
Okay.
And he actually wound up having a lot of pharmacies going on and live a successful life. But it just goes to show you that when you are trying to move up, when you want more for your life, that other people just want to keep you out of it. Sweet had knowledge of this, and among others, they had knowledge that people were actually getting ran out of these neighborhoods, and they took that into cause, which is why he went in 11 deep in the house and had guns and everything else to protect himself. He wasn't looking for a war. He wasn't even that type of guy. He liked dressing nice, and he actually was fearing for his life. He didn't want to do that, but at some point you just can't lay down for everything and lay down for everybody. So Turner was a pioneer, although it was looked at as a loss. He was a pioneer. He put what was going on the map. You know what I mean? It was in newspapers. It was documented, and so yeah, this is about right where he lived.
These seem to be like some of the first documented references of housing discrimination.
Yeah, but it wasn't the only ones.
Not at all.
It was a lot of them that didn't make the paper.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that this was happening. You know, who were the renters that were ran off by this association? You know what I mean?
Very true.
You know,
Their
so
stories weren't heard.
I know their stories weren't heard. Who knows what happened to them? You know, what happened in order for them to what they endured.
So I just thought about this, but the black renters that were over here that got ran out too, themselves must have been pretty prosperous to even afford a house in a neighborhood like this.
Yeah. Even the rent, even just the rent. Absolutely, yeah. Pretty prosperous. Wanted to do better. Wanted their families to be in a better neighborhood. That's all. That's all that anybody ever wants. They made these moves for their families.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They don't want want to keep them away from crime. We want to keep them in a nice, green, safe environment.
Yeah.
And black people over here just weren't safe. They weren't safe for their families, and it wasn't safe for themselves.
So I want to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
In the research you did, how did the family of Turner feel about the mob coming into their house, holding their father, husband at gunpoint? How did they react?
It was a lot of fear.
Okay.
There was a lot of fear involved. And actually, in my research, I couldn't tell who exactly was in the house with Turner.
Okay.
That's still questionable. But, like, just imagine if his family was in there.
Yeah.
Just imagine, like, his daughter was in there watching this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Traumatizing. What else could he do? You know what I mean? At that point, what else is the guy to do but protect his family, but make the best moves for his family?
So this right here, I guess is the neighborhood that he lived in for 5 hours. But if I'm not mistaken, this house was originally what's now the freeway.
Yeah, it was right down there somewhere. Because the addresses are going up this way. So yeah, they're going back down this way. So the freeway basically is right where Turner's home was, ironically. But this was his neighbor.
Even in victory, Dr. Sweet would never find peace in this house. After taking possession of the home, 2 full years after the trial, both his only child and wife succumbed to tuberculosis, which Gladys was certain she'd contracted while in jail. In 1929, Dr. Sweet purchased Garofalo's drugstore, left his practice, and made his first of a few unsuccessful attempts to run a small hospital. He also vied for the presidency of Detroit's NAACP branch, but lost by a landslide. In 1958, Dr. Ocean Sweet sold his hard-earned house and converted the office above his drugstore into an apartment. He would die in that apartment from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head on March 20th, 1960. The now privately owned Ocean H. Sweet House was registered as a Michigan State Historical Site in 1975.
All right, John, we out here on Warren 23rd right now.
All right.
I know this is a place where Malice Green was brutally murdered by the police.
Right.
It was a national story. It's all in the headlines. Just an exact representation of police injustice.
That's correct.
What does this have to do with what we're talking about here today?
Yep. Well, coincidentally, you remember that building that was here that they had Malice Green's mural
Yeah.
on?
Yep.
Coincidentally, this was Alexander Turner's office and home.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. So Malice Green got murdered in front of
Yep.
Dr. Turner's home. Wow. So this is where he lived after he left the area where it's predominantly white.
Where he was forced out.
Where he was forced out.
Absolutely. Yep. No mural here. No, nothing to show. It basically is just a blank land.
Yeah, but you drive by, and if you're not really from the city or you just don't know about these two stories, you'll never know.
Never know.
On the scene, and he spoke with witnesses who helped him reconstruct the attack in all of its viciousness, and he joins us now live from Detroit Police Headquarters downtown. Frank?
Well, Guy, in the wake of this traumatic and sad incident, Detroit Police Chief Stanley Knox held a press conference that was at times very emotional for him just a few moments ago. We'll have more on that just a bit later. As of right now, 7 Detroit police officers, including a sergeant who stood by and watched this incident without intervening, have been suspended without pay. At the scene, Malice Green's blood still runs in the street at West Warren and 23rd on the city's southwest side. It was there that at 10:30 last night, he was beaten to death, according to witnesses, by 2 white police officers of the 3rd Precinct's so-called booster squad. Those officers have been identified as Walter Butson and Larry Nevers. They are plainclothes officers who ride around the neighborhood in an unmarked car. Now, Green was stopped on Warren at 23rd when the officers approached him. He had something balled up in his fist, according to witnesses, that he wouldn't show the officers. And according to them, that aggravated the police officers, and using their flashlights, they just started beating him.